Ooh, okay. So here's the deal. Everywhere I ever went as a director of sales or someone in charge of a sales effort, I would call the whole sales team together in my office. And in this particular case that I recall, it was a big office, but we had a lot of salespeople. We're jammed in there. And I asked them to come to my office with every file of every account that we had ever lost. And this was like day 2 on the job. And I would sit in my office and I'd say, okay, everybody in here, everybody got their accounts? All right, ready? Go. Let's start with you, Shirley. Tell me who we've lost over the course of I don't know how many years, and tell me why, and tell me how much business is at stake here. Well, at this particular location, it was like they had volumes. I mean, they had encyclopedias of accounts that we lost. And from one horror story to the next, they told me these stories. And this one particular story, this client was worth about $300,000 or $400,000. And the reason we lost it was we did all these 10 things wrong over the course of a year. And the real climax was they had their Christmas party at our hotel. The CEO of the company is there with his wife. And someone in their audience saw our bartender steal the CEO's wife's purse. And the CEO's wife called the manager on duty and said, I just saw that employee, or someone saw that employee steal my purse. Our manager on duty basically looked at her and said, ma'am, you must be mistaken because our employees don't steal. Didn't investigate it, didn't check into it, didn't check to see if he put it somewhere else to make sure it didn't get stolen, none of that stuff. Just looked her in the eye and said, basically, you're a liar. So it was one horror story after another. And not to be undaunted, I said, okay, it's a dawn of a new day. We're going back after every one of these accounts, and we're going to go talk to them, and we're going to try to secure this business again. And all we're going to wind up doing is falling on our sword, man. We're going to say, look, those people are no longer with us, and they weren't. We're new people. We have a new commitment. We have a new focus, and we're guaranteeing success here. So in this one particular account where the CEO's wife's purse was stolen, I remember and having everyone in my office, and I said, give me that phone number. And what I'm trying to instill in my sales staff here is, look, I'm going to lead by example. And if I'm asking you to do it, I'm going to do it too. So let's give this thing a shot. Ready? Call up on the telephone. This company answers their phone, and I ask for the CEO. I don't get the CEO. I leave a message. Okay? Well, I'm going to take this one on personally with you. Okay? He says, okay. So for the next, I'm not lying, 7 weeks, I attempt to get this guy on the phone and try to make a connection. And in like week 2, he's still not responding. So I just show up unannounced. And I walk in the lobby, and I walk up to the receptionist, and here's my business card, and I'd like to see so-and-so, please. And she looked at me, and she looked at the business card. She looked at me, looked at the business card. She said, are you sure you want to do this? I said, absolutely. So obviously she was clued in as to why we lost the business as well, right? So she turns around, gets up, turns around, walks no more than 20 paces, and she kind of taps this guy on the shoulder who had his back to me. And he turns around, he says, yes. And I can't hear the conversation, but I see her hand him, I should say, the business card. He takes my business card and he rips it up into like 50 pieces, and he hands it back to her and he yells out, tell Mr. Farrell I'm not in. She comes back all embarrassed, and she kind of like hands me my cards in like microfiche, and it's like I got it in my 2 hands, and she's like, I told you, I warned you. Now behind me I could hear a bunch of salespeople waiting to get in to see other individuals giggling and laughing at this whole experience, right? Well, I'm not going to take no land down here. So for the next 5 weeks, 7-week period, I'm going after this guy. I'm sending flowers. I'm sending candygrams. I'm sending what's called Eastern Onion. And they're still in business today, but I think they were bigger at one time, where you could send somebody dressed up in a gorilla costume, and they would read poetry and do wild stuff to get people's attention, all right? So I think what did it for this guy was 7 weeks into this, I did 3 things a week for 7 weeks. That's like 21 things I did to try to get this guy to call me back. And what I'm trying to do, obviously, is wear him down. But at this point, it's costing a lot of money, and I'm ready to give up on the guy. And I think what did it was we sent the guy an ant farm, and we said something like, if you just call me, I'll stop bugging you, kind of a thing. So the phone rings. I answer Don Farrell, and he's laughing. He's like, look, Farrell, this is so-and-so over at so-and-so company. He said, what do I got to do to have you stop sending me this crap? I said, all I'm asking for is 15 minutes of your time. Can we sit down with you for 15 minutes to show you how serious we are about taking care of you? He said, listen, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop on my way home from work tonight. I'm going to stop into your bar, and you're going to buy me a drink, so at least I get something out of this trip, because you're not ever going to get my business ever again. I'm using competitor so-and-so. They're doing a phenomenal job. I don't need you. I don't want you. But again, if you stop sending this crap, I'll have a drink with you. End of story. 15 minutes later, I wish you the best. I said, deal. So I hang up. I call in my sales manager and said, the guy's coming after work tonight. We're going to have a beer with this guy. So be ready. He said, all right, what's our plan? I said, there is no plan. I said, we're just going to fall on our swords and ask for forgiveness and try to convince the guy eye to eye that we're really serious. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what else to do. There's no tricks here. I mean, the trick was to get him to show up. Now we got to go back to basic selling, right? And basic relationship building. So he says, all right. So the guy shows up and he says, again, let's just order a drink here. Let's be done with this. But go ahead, say what you're going to say. I go into my thing and it's not getting us very far. And somewhere 3/4 through my story, my appeal to this guy, my sales manager says to him, excuse me, real quick, Don. Mr. So-and-so, you had your annual meeting with us for years. What did that cost you? He said, what do you mean? Like, what it cost me to use your hotel? No, I mean everything. You had top name entertainment here. You had limousines. You flew everybody in from all over the country. This is your world headquarters. We had your annual meeting. Your big statement of the year was at our hotel. What does that kind of a thing cost you? And the guy on the cocktail napkin's like penning it all out. Well, let's see, flights, cars, la, 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 la. And I forget the number, but it was something like $250,000 to have this convention with us. So my sales manager looks him in the eye and he says, what if I told you that we would pay for every bit of that? We'd make it free because we owe you. This guy looked at him and he said, wait a minute, let me get this straight. You're going to pay for the limos, the food, the rooms, the flights, the da-dee-dee-do-do-do-do. And as he's going through this, I take my glasses and I kind of put them on the end of my nose and I look at my sales manager and I say, man, it was nice knowing you because there's no way we're going to be able to pay for all this stuff. So where in the heck are you going with this story? And my sales manager looks at him when he gets done and he says, you're going to be able to pay for all that? My sales manager says, yes. What if we were to pay for every bit of that? And the guy starts stammering and he says, well, then I'd be forced. Yeah, I'd be foolish not to do that. He said, I would do that. My sales manager looks at him and he says, listen, we're not going to do that. However, it's good to know that you're willing to come back. This guy, he's like, what do you guys want from me? And then both of us together are like, look, we just want one more chance. We don't want you to believe us. We just want you to try us one more time to show you, not tell you, of our commitment. And sure enough, he gave us like a small parlor meeting, like a 9-person meeting. And then it went to like a 20-person 2-day meeting. And then it was this and that and the other thing. And eventually, it probably took us a year to get him back, but we earned it over the course of a year. But how creative was that? I never would have thought of that. He said, look, we're not going to pay for that. However, it's good to know you're willing to come back. And that was the whole point, was to get this guy to start thinking that, look, there's no way I'm going to use you, to the point of, well, maybe I'll consider it, kind of a thing. So that was my story there. I thought that was kind of cool.